All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host today, Samantha Studebaker Carl, and I'm here with my good friends Catherine and Kenji and Lori and Jason. And today we are going to continue reading the book Sacred Contracts by Caroline Myss. We are in chapter 1 in the section titled Flying Home on page, but we're at the part of, we're on page 35 in the hard copy, kind of in the middle of this section. But before we get going with that, I'm going to give my friends an opportunity to introduce themselves, and then Catherine, you could take it away with the reading.
Yeah, Jason here in Tampa. Great to be here, guys.
Lori Emmons in Denver. Great to be here.
Benji, Maine. Hello, everybody.
Good morning. It's Catherine Clement. Happy Mother's Day to everybody out there who mothers.
Oh,
And I think on my Kindle, it's on page 34, second paragraph. After many more months of refinements, the manuscript was finally accepted. As I was waiting for it to be published, I had the final airplane dream connected to that book. Once again, I boarded the plane and spotted the same empty coach seat where I had sat on the previous flight. I quickly slipped into the seat, buckled up, and held my breath, waiting for takeoff. My heart was racing in the dream, and my body was shaking with anxiety. And then it happened again. The flight attendant spotted me. Just as I was preparing to grab my carry-on and climb out of my seat, she said, "Why don't you take your belongings and come with me? Because there's been a mistake." I followed her down the aisle, thinking, whatever could the mistake be this time? But we passed the exit door of the plane, and she led me directly into first class. "Here you go," she said. "This is your seat. You've earned it." Following those words, I was given a bottle of champagne, and the plane took off. I did not have another airplane dream until I started working on this book, Sacred Contracts. I hadn't been making much progress on the manuscript, and once again I was sinking in emotional quicksand. The dream began with me walking into an airplane office in which I found myself applying for a job. For the first time, however, I was aware of the name of the airline, Aer Lingus, the Irish company. I was waiting in line at the ticket counter along with a truly oddball assortment of people. I wondered what was I doing there? And once I figured out that I was applying for something, I was convinced that I did not qualify. When it was my turn to hand in my application, the gruff woman behind the desk grabbed it out of my hand and walked into a back room. I stood there waiting for what felt like an eternity until she reemerged. "All right, then. You've got the job," she announced. "Now get on that plane." "But I don't have any clothes or money or even a passport," I said. "That's too bad," the woman said sternly. "Either leave behind everything you have or you can't get on the plane." "But," I said, "some things are very precious to me." She was unmoved. "Either you can get on that plane with nothing or stay here." I looked at all of the people boarding the plane, none of whom was carrying any luggage, not even a handbag, and I told her that I needed time to get my things together. How could they do this, I wondered? How could they get on that plane with no luggage? When I protested once again that I didn't have any clothes or money, the woman replied, "Everything you need will be provided. You will be met when the plane lands." All I can remember thinking then was, I hope the clothes they have for me are the right size, and I'd prefer designer clothes. At that moment, I heard my name being paged, and I saw the white wall phone from my earlier dream. I knew from experience what would happen if I picked up that phone. The flight was almost fully boarded now, and the woman with the stern voice repeated her warning. "Either you leave everything behind and get on that plane now, or you stay here and move backward." As I ran through the gate and onto the Aer Lingus jet, I thought, why am I doing this? I don't live in Ireland. I don't know who these people are. I don't know where I'm going. I'm going to a foreign place. I somehow knew that the questions I had been asking were not mythical or hypothetical. They were profoundly spiritual questions. Do you really want to take a flight in the second half of your life? Are you willing to let go of everything to do so? After boarding that flight, I found that the seats in the first class section, to which I was once again escorted, were arranged in rows like a movie theater, facing the cockpit, which had enormous glass windows like the ones in the film version of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Looking out, I had a panoramic view until we entered an enormous fog bank. Frustrated at the lack of a view, I started to get out of my seat, but the flight attendant told me to stay where I was. I insisted that I wanted to see the pilot, but she answered simply, "That isn't allowed." I knew I had to trust that I'd get out of the fog eventually, just as I knew that I must have answered yes to those earlier questions, but I still didn't know exactly what I had said yes to. Even though it was a dream, the decision to get on that plane felt like the single most terrifying choice I'd ever made, and with good reason, as it turned out. That latest dream marked the beginning of a cycle of wrenching personal losses during which I separated from close friends, family, and business associates, either through literal death or by a painful parting of the ways. I was at the grand turning point, the halfway mark in my life. I felt as though I were living in a field of death, having to let go of so much and so many that I loved so dearly, including an older brother who passed away during this deep, excruciating period of spiritual excavation. Strangely, too, I was scheduled to teach a 10-day workshop in Ireland the day that he died. And indeed, after his memorial, I flew to Shannon Airport, and the final leg of my journey was on Aer Lingus. Yet, even in the midst of my hell, this dream brought comfort to me, because it forecast that I was about to fly into a new, more rewarding place and experience. Despite what all these airplane dreams portended, they were ultimately reassuring to me. They told me again and again in no uncertain terms, "You are flying the right path." They also said, "You still need direction. You still need to make choices. You still have to meet the unknown. And we're still checking your attitude." But they said it so lovingly that I never awoke in fear, despite the fact that within the dreams themselves, I often felt anxious, abandoned, or confused. As I labored on my new book, the significance of this dream and the ones preceding it became increasingly clear to me. I knew that I was supported, that the universe would not let me get too far ahead of myself or fail to get where I was supposed to go. A big part of its meaning was that I knew that the dream was also about the book itself. Even the name Aer Lingus suggested that the vehicle I was traveling on had to do with language, with expressing the ideas in the book that I had been struggling to get airborne. It also assured me that the plane had a destination and that a greater force was at work, a force that had reserved a seat for me and expected me to be on board. Although I had never given up hope of God's help, I hadn't expected it to come through the vehicle of my own dreams. I had never really paid much attention to my dreams, or even read books about their interpretation. Yet, they had provided me with the most extraordinary guidance through difficult times in my life. They had also helped me to let go of an old view of myself as undirected and unsure, and to begin to see a different shape to my life. Even if I hadn't believed in God, my dreams would have made me rethink that position. The dreams reinforced my belief that events take place by design, that our life is laid out in steps and stages, arranged in such a way that we always have the opportunity for spiritual transformation, which is the ultimate goal of working with your contract. Spiritual transformation results when you move from seeing things strictly in physical, material terms to seeing that there are reasons why things happen as they do, that there's a greater plan behind them. Your sacred contract allows you countless chances to grow and change, dependent only on your willingness to pick up the subtle clues and cues that appear along the way. Dreams, intuitions, apparent coincidences, and chance encounters are just a few of the cues that will lead you on the path to genuine transformation. I'll stop there.
Very good.
My first thoughts on that is I've never had such a vivid dream where I like remembered what everybody said, remembered the names of the airlines and all the people. My dreams are always so discombobulated, where it just seems like it's more, I don't know, more feeling or more emotional or just, I don't know, awareness of versus very specific things. So,
I agree. And it reminded me so much about what they say is the transition to heaven. You got to leave everything behind.
Yep.
I don't know. It seems like, that you got so many cues, as they put it, and um, meaningful insights that you get from that. I don't know, that perspective, or from the other side. That the thing is you have to. I feel like you have to be in the right mindset to even recognize them, and then in the right mood and drive in order to take the correct action. Um, that that it's almost like the odds that you're going to take the right action or do the right thing, even with the knowledge of really looking out for it, is it's kind of astronomical. We have so many things that we're so many ways that we might perceive, a dream or something like that, and my clarity always comes after the fact that something's happened, and I'm like, oh, that's what it meant. That's what that must have been. Um, so it's interesting to, well, it just sort of feels it feels like it's trying to hold trying to hold on to water. You can't really hold it with your hands and keep it from spilling. It's going to go everywhere, and you're not going to be able to retain the entire amount of what you're supposed to be getting. I mean, I when the hurricanes hit, and I had that dream the night before about the standing in the water. It's funny that there was no feeling about that about that being having to do with the hurricane. And a few weeks prior, I had a dream about my car being underwater. It was probably a good month and a half or so, but I told people about it because I think we were talking about it as well. And that's what happened during the hurricane, is my car went underwater. Like, it was
Oh my
and it
gosh.
was parked on the street. So I was like, oh, huh. And then it occurred to me that, one of the other major events from the storm wasn't in my dream at all, which was that the next day, this like 9 or 10 foot rattlesnake, I mean, huge rattlesnake, was we all, the neighbors and all, kind of had to corral it, and I helped to capture it so we could move it across and put it in the woods, because everybody was at first everyone was like, "Oh, let's get rid of it," and then people came out with shovels, they're gonna kill it, and then one person stood up for it and was like, "No, let's just put it in the woods and let it live. It's not gonna hurt you." And I was fine. I know it's dangerous with so many people walking and dogs and everything, but for the most part, they stay to themselves. He had just floated out of the woods and into our neighborhood and was trying to find a way home. And man, it's the biggest snake. I mean, I've seen a lot of snakes up close, so this thing was so huge. Its head was about the size of a softball, and it was an intimidating rattlesnake, and it was quite an experience. And it just occurred to me that that was not in any of my previous dreams or thoughts. So what we certainly aren't getting the full picture if we're looking towards like premonitions for stuff. So it's kind of hard to read what it is you're supposed to know or feel or think, and then I always worry like, well, but if I think about it, like it's like maybe I should just let those thoughts or ideas, those premonitions or whatever it might be, just kind of keep it in the back of my mind and not really make any decisions based on it, because if I do, I might have the wrong perception and make the complete opposite or incorrect turn and go in the wrong direction. So it's sort of it's really no help at all. It's for
I
entertainment
was just
purposes.
thinking, when you were talking about that and you'd had the dream where you were, standing in the water and the fish were swimming around you. I'm like, you might have thought, okay, well, let me just prepare and get up everything off a ground level or whatever, or maybe I should just get out of here and go to someplace else. And it may have been that you go to someplace else and you have the experience there instead. You don't
Yeah,
know.
right.
Right. I mean, uh, I don't. The thing I've noticed about my dreams, I don't think I've ever really had one that seemed like a premonition of something. Well, no, not really. I haven't, and it's more often than not minor emotional, reflective of whatever is going on in my life at a given moment, and it'll be some symbolic meaning that is, somehow related to what's going on with me versus a thought of the future, if you will. I have had a couple of premonition type visions or feelings when I'm in a meditative state, but that's a completely different state, I feel like, than what dreams are. Dreams feel more, they just like bubble up from the surface somewhere. You don't know where they're coming from, but I mean, sort of we do, but mostly not.
Guides lead in different ways too, and different guides message you in different ways. Like, so dreams may not be the way that your guides speak to you, but they may speak to you in another way. And I've had a few prophetic dreams, but I mean, I don't even remember my dreams hardly ever now. I might remember that I had a dream, but I don't remember what it was about. But the messages that I get from other ways is profound. So, and even like Jason, you bring up trust. How can you trust the messages or what you're getting? Even the most accurate, like psychic medium investigator person that does this for a living every day kind of thing, even they are only maybe 95% accurate. There's always like a room for error because you misinterpret something that you get. Um, but it's basically time and recognizing enough of them, because I believe the messages are always there, whether people recognize them or not. So it's a matter of time and recognizing messages enough that you begin to trust, or like me, you keep arguing with them and they throw
Yeah.
your ass off the back of a horse. Right? But before I forget, Jason, I do want to bring up that snake is extremely profound medicine. And anytime snake comes into your life, it indicates a birth and renewal, just like a snake sheds its skin. You can take that as a sign that you need to shed your skin and grow into something bigger that your skin right now doesn't accommodate for. So, for instance, the day before, I think it was the day before I had my was it my last surgery or the surgery before? I can't remember.
Mm.
I went to pick some books up off the bottom shelf, and I've told you guys this story before, but just to reiterate, I went to, because I knew I wouldn't be able to bend over, so I had to have everything up. And Kenji, you certainly relate to that. So I was trying to get things up, and I had books on this plant shelf in the kitchen, and I bent over to bring those books up to a level where I could reach them after the surgery, because I wasn't going to have help and stuff. And so as I rose up, because I was kind of slow coming up, because my back was messed up, and as I came up slowly, like as my eyes got level with this one shelf, I realized that laying there in that plant that was right there was a rattlesnake looking me right in the eye, like less than 12 inches, probably less than 8 or 10 inches from my face. I was looking right into this rattlesnake. And most people would have
Whoa.
really freaked out over
Like
that.
inside your house?
Inside my house,
Oh my
inside my
gosh.
kitchen, in a
Jeez.
plant. Yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
most people would have freaked out. I kind of backed away slowly because I didn't want to make like a sudden movement. But immediately I knew that this was a sign that this surgery was going to be successful, that I was going to have completely new skin to live in and start a new life. So snake is super, super powerful. And I find it, I mean, yes, you can totally rationalize that the, snake got flooded out of its place, but a snake that huge, I mean, in a in a at a time when so many people were affected and felt devastated, and many of them, their lives would have to start over because of the devastation, right? So for a huge snake to appear at that time, it wasn't just like a little baby rattler. This was a huge 10-foot snake. Like, that meant huge change for many people. That's how I would have interpreted that.
Whoa.
Yeah, wow. Well, that is another thing that I thought about, was that all those people that were standing around watching this corral, this giant rattler, was every one of them, their homes were all flooded, and they are, there's probably 30 or 40 people, and for that moment their only concerns were about this rattlesnake, though, like you said, they were all facing being homeless from their houses being flooded with 3-4 feet of water. They probably wouldn't be able to, well, I know some of them were like living on the second level because they're still all, well, all of them are still getting renovated, and a lot of them have had to move and stuff. So it was definitely a huge life-changing event for everyone there. And yet for the moment, of course, it was early on, early the next day, but for that moment, everyone was focused on the snake. So
Mm.
no, that was interesting.
Did you get a picture of it?
No, I was too involved. I didn't get a picture. I walked out there as trying to, you know, I didn't have my phone with me. I wish I had,
Right.
like, smile, snake, smile. And
Don't
then,
show us your teeth though. Right.
oh yeah, oh boy. And I mean, I went out that, when I, well, that morning when I saw the minnows nipping at my toes and kind of like under not the street light, but our front porch light. And then I wanted to go out to check on my car because my car had been screaming and talking all night with its alarm system and horn. And when the water got into it, everything was shorting out and the trunk popped and the moonroof opened and the windows open and the windshield's going and it's going beep, 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 and I can hear it, and I'm hearing for hours, I'm hearing my car, these last, you know, little hollers for help or whatever. And I couldn't get out there. And then I was out there, seeing the fish around my feet. And then I tried to walk over to my car, but it got too deep. It got, almost up to my waist, up to my pockets, and just going down my driveway. And I realized, I mean, I've been in, I've been out in the water at night by myself, treading water, trying to get home and stuff like that. But I was just suddenly like very aware of what could be in that water. Um, there's minnows, I know there's fish, I just figured there would be, could be snakes. Of course, I was just thinking like water moccasin, which is bad enough. So I stopped. I didn't go out to out to my car all the way, and I turned around and came back. And then the next day, seeing that snake, I was like, "Oh, see, that's good thing I didn't. Good thing I didn't go out there. I might have met that snake in the middle of the night or middle of the morning." So
So I'm confused. Were your alarms and all that going off in your dream or in real life?
real life.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I don't have sound in my dreams. I do dream in color.
Oh,
I
I
do,
never thought about that. No, about the sounds or the conversation you're having with someone or whatever. I never thought about that. Sometimes I know I dream in color and other times I don't.
mhm. Yeah, the conversations are always intuitive, just a feeling of knowing what they're saying. It's not the
Because you
sound of
do. Language is really uh, not necessary for us, although we do choose to use it. But
what
we
do
are
you,
definitely telepathic beings. And I have I joined I joined an additional mediumship group this week, which is one that They work on like missing persons or solving murder cases, stuff like that. And I didn't really think about it before I joined it, but there's a lot more psychic work to it than mediumship work necessarily. Like we were presented with pictures and you had to just give your impression of what you were getting off the picture. Now, sometimes if the person was dead and they wanted to come back and say something, then it might turn into mediumship. But otherwise, it was just a lot of psychic work, which I've never done before. So it was challenging me, which was great. But the impressions that, I mean, it's amazing what you can get when you try. Even if you think you can't do it, even if you think you don't have, quote, the gift, it's not the gift. Well, it is a gift, but everybody has it. You would just be amazed at what can come through just from looking at a picture. Like I had vision, I had physical sensations coming in, letting me know how they died and things like that, just from looking at a picture. And it was the first time I'd ever done it, and when she first said how it was going to work and everything, I was like, oh, fuck.
Wow.
I've never done this, I don't know if I could do this, but I said, I'll try. And you just never know what you can do until you try. Like I never knew I could draw with colored pencils, but I decided to take this free little Facebook course, and now I find out I can, and I really love it and enjoy it. But unless you take the initiative and go after something and try it, you don't know whether you can do it or not. And you don't know if, like, it amazes me that some of the most well-known psychics and mediums, like they may have spent years and years devoted to practicing without ever getting anything. Like, but then one day it just all unfolds for them. So I guess there is something to be said about divine timing in it all.
Well, what are some of the other ways that your guides can speak to you that we might not think about?
Oh my goodness. Billboards, license plates, somebody just, you being in like a totally horrible space and suddenly somebody just smiles at you, grin, ear to ear, somebody that you don't know pops into your life, or I get repeated numbers constantly or songs coming into my head. I don't know which guides are giving which direction. But I have one up there that is a musician evidently, because I'm forever getting songs, and it's not a song that, like, I might recognize it or I might not even recognize it. I might have to Google it. And but most of the time with the songs, the lyrics answer the exact question that I'm asking or pondering at that time. And usually the words in the song just make the message complete, crystal clear, because they'll say exactly what I needed to hear. Another way, there are ways that you can seek out stuff. Like some people open the Bible and just kind of open it to a random page and close their eyes and put their finger on wherever it is, it lands in the Bible, and then they read that passage and take that as a message. Or some people use like tarot cards, or now they have what they call them. They're not tarot cards, but there's a lot of cards out there that do bring messages. They're specifically to bring messages, but they're not tarot per se. I'll
Mm.
see. I mean, I get messages, or at least I divine messages. Maybe it's not a message, but maybe I take it as a message from like bugs. Like I'll sit there and watch a bug and how it goes up to something that it can't get past. And it doesn't just like sit back on its haunches and start thinking, oh my God, my mom didn't love me enough. I can't get through this. Oh God. No, they just like turn left or right and keep moving. Like they don't, you know what I mean? And if you think about a bug's life, like how huge everything is to a bug, like they're literally walking around with giants among them, like when we were back in prehistoric days with dinosaurs and shit. Bugs are
It's all a
they're
matter of
tough.
perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you
It's
wonder if they
crazy.
even are aware of any of it, you know? What are they actually aware of? Are we oblivious to everything that's bigger than us and we just don't even know that it's there because we just can't see it or we just don't recognize it? Uh, I gotta get off
I,
though, guys, but you guys can keep talking for a little bit if you want. I can make somebody else the host.
I'm really struggling today. The phone, somehow I have my volume all the way up and I can barely hear you guys, which is
Aw,
good. It doesn't wake up my roommate. I'm like, what next? My phone is constantly my nemesis.
aw, it's being difficult.
We
Mm.
can I'm gonna have to go soon anyway, so we can cut it off. Again, happy Mother's Day to everybody out there and everybody
Yes.
Yep. Happy Mother's
who
Day.
mothers.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day to you all. Thank
Love you
you.
guys.
Love
Love you
you.
Short and
too.
sweet.
Everybody have
Yep.
a great week.
Yep.
Right.
You too.
Take
See
Love
ya.
you.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.